Now, what you do is you just picture yourself first. If you can picture yourself using the power of the mind to create an image, and if you can have an image of yourself and you can see yourself, you can see the curtain and you can see yourself kind of stepping up to the curtain, but then you lose sight of who you are. It looks like you for just a moment and then it fizzles. And now you just see the backdrop, or you just see some hazy figure. Well, that's just step one. Keep going until. Hey everybody, I'm Carol Collins, America's Medium, and also channel for the Teachers of Jeshua, and this is Your Superior Self.
Oh, Carol, America's Medium. Thank you so much for taking the time. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. This is fun. I
So
love
how
to
did
do
you,
this.
I love having guests like you, and especially channelers. How did you get into this work? How did you become America's Medium?
It found me. So, it's like this. I'm just going to disclose my age as of this interview. I'm 52 and I'm getting pretty close to 53. And so I've lived a life of just being average, being normal. Had a family young, and then did what too many people do, got divorced, and then kind of fell apart for a while. And one thing just led to another, but I was never a spiritual person. I did go to church, off and on, but I was raised Catholic. And I just fell apart. And when I did, I found a few different things, but long story short, I found Abraham through Esther Hicks, and Abraham introduced me to meditation. And then I started doing meditation like I couldn't get enough of it. I did the 10 to 15 minute increments of meditation every single day. No matter how busy I was, I'd be halfway out the door and I would stop in my tracks and say, nope, that meeting can wait. And I would sit back down. 15 minutes is 15 minutes. So I did that. And, it was kind of strange. About 4 months into it, my face started to move just a little bit. And then a few weeks, it took about a month, and my face was doing this in meditation. It was just moving in all these different directions. And it felt really cool. I didn't go to meditation classes. I didn't even go to yoga. So I didn't go to spiritual retreats. I didn't do any of the metaphysical stuff. I just fell apart and found meditation. And then 9 months into it, right after meditation, before I got up, my face just started shifting from left to right. And then I just say it's first day of conversation. They started spelling words in the air with my face in cursive. And that was the most delightful time. So that was March 20th, 2019. So this channeled came about a month later. So I'm jumping around here. I did this conversation in the air with my face. And it's kind of hard to believe, but I did that for hours upon hours every day because it was fascinating information. It was about who guides are and why you have them and why we're here and who my soul family is and how I was connected to my family members and my parents. And then a lot of personal information about, how to get back on my feet and get going. And then about a month and a half later, they simply said to me, can we speak out loud? And I said, yes. And they said, okay, just say your name and just start to talk a little bit. And then I went to say my name and they started talking. They introduced themselves. They said who they were. They went through what they now call the essential material. And then after about 20 minutes, they said, well done. And then we just had more out loud conversations. So that's what I've been doing ever since. About a year later, I started doing readings, and they started teaching intuitive development classes. About a year after that, they started teaching self-healing classes. And, one thing just leads to another. So about 3 years into it, I retired from my IT job. And now this is what I do full time. I love it. Love
That's
it. Love it.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's so awesome being able to do what you love. Now, mediumship, is it? So explain that, right? Because when I think of mediums, I think of people that can communicate on the other side of the veil. Do you do that as well, or just strictly channeling?
Well, that's what channeling is.
Hmm.
So everybody that is here in a physical life, we all come from the other side. You can say the other side of the veil. Sometimes they just say it's like a two-way mirror. And more recently, they just say, picture the world that you live in, like under the dome. We're outside the dome. It's really not all that mysterious or all that mystic. It's just we're outside the dome, you're inside the dome. But before you came inside the dome, you started outside the dome. And you're a big, powerful being over here who just decided to start integrating into the physical life and learning all about physical life. So, after you die, you go right back over there. And then you come back if you want to, and then you go right back over there. They do talk about the transition, because we don't all have, none of us have perfect lives, and some of us have bad lives, but all of us have a bad mood and worse. So what happens to all that bad mood and those aches and pains and all the things that went wrong? And they just say in the transition, it just gets separated from, emotion gets separated from activity, and all negative emotion is removed from your life story. And then when you finish the transition, you're a happy, healthy, fully integrated, non-physical being. So the people that communicate through me as a teacher team, they're a collective of about 40 non-physical teachers. And they just say, just substitute guide for teacher. And in classes, they say to all the students, before you came into physical life, you have a set of guides. And you have those guides here in the physical world as well. So you might as well just say my teacher or my life coach. Now, the other thing about mediumship is loved ones and people's family members. And they say the difference is communicating with an individual person versus their higher being. Let's say that you try have had 500 lifetimes. And so after you die, somebody could communicate with you individually, or they could communicate with the stream of consciousness that is all 500 lives. And it's this powerful, integrated being who's got knowledge about everything. And so you could step forward and say, I'm Trey Downs and I'm communicating through this medium. Or you could say, this is the Trey entity and all of my lifetimes are here, and you have the ability to communicate with them one-on-one. So there's the unfoldment class that they teach is about how to bring out the awakening, how to become a medium, how to become a channeler, which is an advanced medium, and what we're really supposed to be doing with our psychic ability. And that's not giving readings. It's to manifest, use psychic energy to find things and do things and create things. A medium is someone who communicates with everybody on the other side, but you always communicate with your guide first. And then as your skill level increases, they bring more people in, more people in, more people in.
You said something very interesting. Besides the Trey entity, I'm going to use that when I communicate on the other side. This is the Trey entity.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Your purpose in life is the manifest. To that point, right? Our abilities, our psychic abilities are not supposed to be used. I think that's what you said, for that purpose. It's more so to be used for manifestation. Can you hit on that a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Mind Valley is now promoting something that I love. And it's a book that I read a long time ago. It's Jose Silva's Mind Control.
I've heard that.
And yeah. So Jose Silva just said, sit down in a quiet place at a quiet time of day, close your eyes, and then repeat a mantra to yourself for as long as you feel good to do it. And if you can do it more than once a day, do it. But if you don't feel like doing it, and if you don't feel like it's a joyful thing to do, then don't do it. So when you feel happy, do it and stay there for as long as you can. But the idea is do it every single day. And you want to weave in things that you want. I want a beautiful relationship, an intimate relationship that feels good, that's beneficial, that's mutually loving and mutually happy. And I want a home that is satisfying and within my income range. And I want my income to continuously grow. And I know that I can be a peaceful person. I know that humanity is good and I'm kind and I'm friendly and I'm gentle with everyone I know, and everyone is kind and gentle and friendly with me as well. And humanity serves each other. and life is positive. Some kind of beautiful mantra that's well-rounded, but also includes gentle and friendly for yourself and for others. And so when you project words and when you repeat words, especially when your eyes are closed and you're in this quiet place and nothing's really interfering with what you're doing, you're teaching the mind what to go get. And that's psychic energy. It's psychic energy that is, it's repetition. Repetition creates a pattern. And when a pattern gets strong, then it becomes a habit. And when you have a habit, that's just who you are. So, what are your habits? Why do you have them? Do you like them? And if you don't, then it's a different kind of meditation. It's mantra meditation. And it causes the subconscious mind to focus on what you want because you keep feeding it words. And so you have to look for evidence that things are starting to manifest. And when you see the evidence, love on it, attribute it to your mantra sessions, and then you'll get more and get more and get more, and things get really fantastic. So I love that book has kind of resurrected itself so many years later. I think it was written in the 60s or 70s. And, Mind Valley's got a powerful following.
Sure.
And so that's psychic energy. Psychic energy is meant to help you manifest what you want, when you want, where you want, and with whom you want. But that's here in the world. Psychic energy is, moving outward and bringing information back to you, bringing experiences back to you or people. Clairvoyant and channeled is communicating with people on the other side. So clairvoyant is conversation and pictures that you have in the mind's eye. Channeled is out loud. So the easiest way to describe it is, when you're a little kid, everybody gets yelled at. Everybody gets yelled at. But, one of the things you get yelled at about is for saying things that you shouldn't have said. And then you feel bad about what you said. So think before you speak. That's what everybody has kind of become accustomed to. Think before you speak. If you were, to give a speech on a platform somewhere, your keynote speaker, you wouldn't just go up there without having anything planned. You'd write it, you'd practice it, you'd revise it, you'd practice it again. And so think before you speak, think before you speak. So clairvoyant is conversations coming from the other side, and it is presented as a thought. It's presented as a thought. And you don't really know who originated the thought, whether it was yourself or whether it was from the other side. Now, when the teachers do the unfoldment classes, they teach you different ways to self-validate and trying to progress so that you do know. But channeled is when the mind is so sure of who it is communicating with and where the information is coming from that they simply advance your physical body and ask your body to speak the words instead of present them as a thought. So it's originated over there, presented in the mind as a thought, that's clairvoyant, and presented as out loud spoken work, that's channeled. So, mediumship is, I say mediumship is readings. And I do channeled readings all the time. But as a channeler, then the non-physical teachers step in and they teach what they want to teach, what they think humanity needs to know. And they separate, for me, they separate it into 4 different categories, and then they write books and teach classes and do workshops and all kinds of stuff.
Sure. Well, you said 40 individuals, right? So are they 40 trays, or are they 40 collections of like 500 lives brought together?
Yeah, entity beings. They're entity beings that have completed their incarnation cycles, and they know everything that there is to know about participating as a physical human being. For example, they always talk about the energy field that's around us, and that our chakras are inside the energy field, and that we have this container mechanism that they call the grid. And the grid is a structure that contains all thought. And they talk about what it is, but they also say you make it, you create it. You create your chakra system, you create the energy field, you create the structure that'll hold your human life, your life story. All your memories are in there. And they say all of that is, it's like class material. You learn what it is, you learn how to do it, and then you create it, and then you use it, and then you use it. They talk about soul intentions and why we're here and how you imprint those into the grid I think the best way that I've heard them describe it is your soul intentions are the first thought that you put into your life story. These are the things that I want to do. It's my first vision board item. I want to be friendly. I want to be kind. I want to be, for me, I want to be channeled, and I want to be so skilled at channeling that I will have at least one book written. So that's advanced channeled. Now I've done that, but I didn't do it until I was almost 50. So there's a lot of other things in my life that is just life story kind of things, just like everybody else. But I want to be a girl. I want to live on the East Coast. I want to be American. I want to be a mother. I'd like to be married one time. I failed on that one. I'd like to meet up with a certain number of soul friends or soul family members. I would like to recover from the tendency to draw negative energy to me, negative emotional energy to me. Soul intentions are that first imprint of what you're hoping to be drawn to, what you're hoping to, I'm going to Earth and this is who I want to be. And then you jump into Earth and then you're like, well, I have no idea what the imprint is, but I'm pretty sure I got to go to school. And
I
then
have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, you get influence left and right, but those soul intentions are still there, and they make the soul intentions make that part of your life easy when you find them. Like for me, channeled is, I just say it's like breathing. It's so easy that it's fun, but it's also easy, and that isn't the case for everybody. And I see that Monday night is the unfoldment class, and I see it in class every week. I just don't understand. I practice and I get pictures, but when is channeled coming? And they just say it's not an imprint to definitely do it. So now it's a process of learning. So just sit back and relax and just enjoy the ride.
The channeling is receiving information, right? Like just receiving information from something. I don't want to say outside of you, but something you're receiving information or data, right? Like, so it could come in the form of pictures, right? That would be channeling because aren't you connecting with something, an entity or a being or a collective, and receiving information in the form of visuals?
I love your question, because I read something from someone earlier today, and it said, I am so excited to learn to channel information from the other side. And after all these classes, and they week in and week out, and I hear people using the word channeled for just about everything. Inspired thought, I'm channeling. And when I read this email today, I just thought, oh, channel. This specific person was using the word channel as a generic statement of connecting with the other side. And that's not channeling. So when you think about it, everybody has intuition. That's like your base level of receiving any kind of guidance. And we don't hear intuition. It's just you decide to go to a baseball game on Saturday, and you usually go on Friday. And when you go on Saturday, you get your favorite Frisbee or whatever as you're walking in the door. You don't know why you chose Saturday, because that's an unusual thing for you to do. But when you got there, everything was just perfect. You got the perfect seats and you got the perfect prize, and that's intuition. You just do things. It's not a voice in your mind. It's just suddenly you just have a firm decision. That's intuition.
Well, it's like turning left rather than right. You know what I mean? That you turning left saved you from a car accident, from going right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's not like a well thought out, like, I know if I go left, I can go around this accident. That's
like something's telling me to go left. Like something
Yes.
in me is telling me to go left. I'm going to go left. And then I escape some type of deadly crash or something.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're tuned into your intuition. If you're not tuned into your intuition, you might turn right and then you sit in traffic for 3 hours. So intuition isn't automatic. The inner mind has to tune into it and choose it. So everybody's got base level intuition, base level guidance. That's probably a better way to put it. So intuition, first level guidance. Meditation moves you into clairvoyant activity. So clairvoyant is mediumship, all 5 senses. So you can hear things, you can see things, you can feel things, you can smell things, and you can taste things. And that's mediumship in a quick nugget. Clairvoyant is always presented as a thought. Channeled mediumship, it's no longer presented as a thought, it's presented as spoken word. Every channeled person is clairvoyant, but every clairvoyant person is not channeled. So in a channeled session, I'll have clairvoyant activity, but the words flow out without me thinking about speaking.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to receive and I do, let's just say first thing in the morning, I'm not talking out loud yet, and I have a two-way conversation with them. So I think a thought, they answer me, and I hear it on the right-hand side. And then I think a thought to them. I think silently to myself, they hear it, and they bring me another. So that's two-way dialogue conversation, but it's all silent conversation that's happening inside.
Mm-hmm.
That's clairvoyant. That's clairvoyant. It is also pictures if they decide to send a picture, but it's always advised to increase your ability to be verbal, because then you get a full description. If I were to describe to somebody my clairvoyant activity, then I would have to describe it after I received it. So you hear it or you see it, and then you describe it. Hear it and receive it, and then describe it.
But you're the one that's describing it. So
yes,
channeling would be when they're coming through you.
Yes. So if I receive a picture and then I'm trying to describe it to somebody, I have to decide whether or not to describe the picture and what to describe, top, bottom, left, right, how much detail. And then I have to assume what it means. So from a verbal clairvoyant conversation, then you want to just repeat the words that you heard. Channeled is different. I don't hear it in the mind first and then make a choice to say it. It just flows out. Yeah.
Not complicated at all.
If you just think about it this way, there's a progression. Intuition moves into clairvoyant, which moves into channeled. It's advanced mediumship is channeled, and channeled is always words spoken out loud. Anything that happens in the mind's eye is clairvoyant or human thought.
Have you ever gone through the process of doubting those messages?
No, not doubting. Because I just ask, what did you just say? And then they'll speak. I guess my abilities are a little bit different because they took almost 50 years to show up. They just say it's like being pregnant for 30 years. You give birth to a 30-year-old, it's a full-grown adult. And that's what happens to a lot of people that are, over the age of, 45, 46, 47. When their abilities manifest, they manifest big. And so, they tell me often, if these abilities had manifested in my late 20s or early 30s, I would have to practice and self-validate and really focus on strengthening it. But because they didn't show up until I was almost 50, they said it just blossomed.
It's a girl.
Yeah,
I guess it's a boy,
exactly.
whatever it is.
So I don't second guess it. I don't second guess it. I love it and I do it a lot. And if my mind if I'm having a bad day, then I just talk to them out loud, because there's soothing conversation, but they talk you through it. They talk you down from the ledge, and they just have a way of reminding you that they're with you. And so I just use that ability all the time.
Sure. I heard a cool little saying today. The truth shall set you free, but at first it's going to piss you off. I guess because of our paradigms and our programming. And when you hear truth, it really rattles you to the core. This group, this collective, what truth did they bestow on you that shook your cage, that rattled your cage and really pissed you off because they went against everything that you had previously believed in?
I'm not sure I have a good example. Because I think because of my age. So I grew up Catholic and I was devout Catholic. My parents, we moved, every 3 or 4 years we moved. And I always remembered where we lived based on what church we went to. So I was devout. And then I went through a phase where I didn't go to church at all. And then I went back to church for a little while, and then I just quit going to church. But I remember when I first started meditating, a thought came to mind, and it was, why do we have a soul? What is it for? Is that what keeps us alive? Or are we supposed to be using it for something? And that thought kind of stuck in my mind, like, what is a soul? Like, is that just energy of who I am? Or is that just an analogy for some connection, or, you know, something like that? So they describe all of that. I would say it's incremental enlightenment is what I have received about who we are before we come into physical life. So I guess this is probably an example. I thought people were like the very youngest beings in the non-physical place. And once you became a non-physical being on that side, you know, on the other side, then you had a series of lives that helped you kind of grow up and become enlightened. And then when you were old enough or big enough or, you know, broad enough or understood things well enough, then you stopped having lives. And that's not the case. So we are full-grown adult non-physical beings. And then when we come upon the desire to participate in physical life, then we do. And so one of the things they said was, you know, when people say, you know, I think I'm a really old soul because I'm just intuitive, they say, well, that's true. But in the physical world, you could be a very, very old soul on the other side, but start your physical life, your series of lives, once you are an old soul over there. So you could have two people side by side, and one is like generationally younger, but their intuition is much stronger because they've been doing physical lives for a lot longer. We get to choose what to do and when. And I think that kind of threw me for a while, and until I understood that on the other side, there's freedom. This is kind of cool because here we're told what to do and when to do it. You know, when you're 5 or 6 years old, you go to kindergarten and you don't have a choice. You go to school because you're told to, and you're told to go to school until you're 16 and hopefully for longer. But that's the rule. And if you don't follow that rule, your parents get in trouble. So it's a rule. And then when you get to school, you're told what you have to take and what you have to study and for how long and how many days you go to school, and everything is all patterned out. There's certain things that we don't have a choice in. So on the other side, it's not the same. There's so many different things you could, you know, let's just say healing things and maintaining things and creating things and teaching things and learning things, or finding new ways of doing things. So let's just say those are the only thing that's on the other side. It's what do you want to do and when? What do you want to do and when? Well, I think that subject sounds really fun. Then you get to jump in and do it for as long as you want to. And then when you want to move into a different subject, then you do. And nobody's telling you that you have to finish this first. You can just say, I'm going to put that on hold and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to study that for a while. And so you might be somebody that just is learning things on the other side or teaching things on the other side. And then you finally say, you know what? I think I want to jump into the whole physical life thing. What's that all about? Who wants to teach me that? And so then you engage with teachers and they teach you all about the world and what you do here and why you're here and what soul intentions are and all that kind of stuff. And then if you like it, you do it. And if you don't, you don't. We just have so much more freedom on the other side to choose how we want to grow and develop. And that's freeing, because that's really what we're, at least as an adult, that's what we're wanting. We're wanting to not be told what to do. We want to be appreciated for who we are. And so I guess in some ways, I think I'm hopefully learning to adopt some of the more peaceful way of being because of that whole construct. You get to do what you want to do when you do it. And then you engage with the right people to help you do it. And then if you really, 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 really love that subject, you might stay with it all the way to be a teacher of it. and do that for a while. And then when you've done that for a certain amount of time, if something else piques your interest, you just go do that. Eternal beings just keep learning and doing and learning and doing. And we don't really have that option here. And so, not least until you're an adult.
Till you're 50, right?
Yeah.
And then you can channel.
Well, hopefully. Although I think my youngest student is about 32.
Oh.
And my oldest student is 74.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's never too late, and it's never too, well, I guess. Well, it's never too late. I mean, I think, like, to your point, I think there's always time to learn, right? And to go after your soul intention. And I'm doing that quite a bit. There's always this social, like, norms. You hit a certain age, you're supposed to be here. You're supposed to do this by this certain age. You're supposed to retire at this certain age. I think it's all just a bunch of crap, where it's like, I'm not the same person that I was when I was 30. Some people would say that's still too early or too late. Some people still think 30 is too late to do certain things. I just, like, you're still a kid. I think 40, you're still a kid. I think 50, you're still a kid. I think, it's all relative, but I was totally blind to the evolution of consciousness completely for the first 33 years of my life. Like, I didn't know anything about spirituality, really. I just knew it. I knew it through religion. And to me, that it makes sense. And so I just turned my back on it and didn't really look at it. I mean, I had some patterns. I felt like I did have a relationship with Jesus, but it was conditioned. It wasn't like a true one. It was just like out of fear, essentially. And then I started awakening to more spirituality and, like, exploring my curiosity. And I opened to that. And now I have a podcast where I speak to channelers. And I never thought I would be doing that, right? But people believe, oh, at 40 I have to be here. I think it's never too late for anything. So, like, if you're 74 or 80 or 90, I mean, I know people that are stories of people being like 90 years old still getting their undergraduate degrees. I just feel like, you know what? Go after what fires you up, like whatever your heart resonates with. It's never too late. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Don't let guilt drive you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let guilt drive you. So if you're 80 and you've got guilt weighing over you because you never got that degree, then surrender to, my life was a little bit different, and then go do something else. But if you want it and you think the idea of going back to school is fun and fascinating and it really is energizing, then go get 100 degrees. Go do it. Go do it. Whatever you're interested in, go do it. And satisfy that curiosity and satisfy that desire. And then if you get halfway through that program and that satisfied feeling is now complete, then go do something else, because it's not all about the degree. It's about, what am I passionate about? What am I jazzed about? What do I really want to do today? And what do I want to, small picture, big picture. And so, yeah, I think that kind of sums it up.
That's awesome.
It's stay positive, stay driven, stay happy, but stay flexible. There's so many constructs. College degree is an institution that tells you what you have to take and what you have to pay for it, and when you qualify to be good enough to say that you have a degree.
Mm-hmm.
I just say, do you love what you do? But also, I don't look to retirement anymore. Although, my IT background, I did that for 22 years. And then I just stepped away from it. So technically I didn't retire because I didn't get a retirement, but I stepped away from it. And now I say, I have no retirement in my future. This is my life. I fully plan to do this, give readings and do workshops and live streams as what I do. So it's a job, it's a business, and I like what I do. I love what I do. And, people always say, if you find something that you're passionate about, then you never work a day in your life. And that's true. It's not work. It's just fun. And I have no intention to desire that. I have no intention or desire to retire. So that just tells me that what I was doing for those 22 years was not as fun as I thought it was, because I looked towards retirement. I thought about, what am I going to do after retirement? But if you really love what you do, then you never want to retire.
Sure.
So
you're just surviving for those 22 years, right?
You're doing what you need to do to pay the bills and put money aside so then you can go have a good life.
Yep. So I would love to get in some of the channel messages. First, you want to go introduce the people, the audience to who you're channeling. And then if you want to go into that process, and then we can start that and see where it goes.
So I channel a collective of non-physical teachers. They call themselves the Teachers of Jeshua. And they do identify that there are different soul communities in the other side. And they identify that there's 14 different 14 different places that non-physical people live. And the place that I live, my spirit being, my non-physical being, is a place that they have titled Yeshua. And so they are the teachers of Yeshua. So I just say, it's like, think of it like a continent, and all the people that live there from a non-physical perspective, that place, or that, it's not a race of people, it's more like a continent, the way that they describe it. They are the teachers of that entire community. And there's teachers on every land-based place in the non-physical dimension. It's a physical reality over there, only they have no limitations, and they also have zero negative emotion. And if you have zero negative emotion, then there's no limitation. I mean, the two go hand in hand. And so they are the teachers of how to participate in the physical world, and how to maintain your physical body and healthy energy, healthy thoughts, healthy mindset, to get things done, and how to travel in your sleep. Astral projection, they call it jumping. They like to bring things down to a level that is not metaphysical and not too spiritual, because they're trying to really hit the mainstream population. And so they just call it jumping, and they describe it. So they teach what they call the essential material. Pillar 1 is conscious life and physical life, and how the two interact together. Pillar 2 is law of attraction, why your psychic ability helps you to manifest your future. Pillar 3 is how to heal your mind-body connection by partnering with your non-physical teacher. And pillar 4 is your unfoldment into channeling. And that's the process of awakening. Who does it, how it happens, when it happens, and why it happens. And that's what they teach. So they're here. We are the teachers. We're standing by. We're ready to have a conversation. Trey, we love you, and we love your lifestyle. We like what you do. We like this podcast, and we like all podcasts that are bringing spiritual things closer and closer and closer to people, and give them opportunity to choose whatever it is that they want to choose. We say channeled is the ability for a human being to have us ask the mind to speak words out loud. So we want to dispel the myth about possession. And we also want to categorically say channeling is not communicating with the other side. Communicating with the other side is medium. You are a medium. When you are communicating with the other side, you are a medium. The world says a medium is someone who gives readings about loved ones. And we say, well, that's just a definition that people have added. You are clairvoyant people. You are meant to communicate with us, and you are meant to communicate with us verbally. Picture books are good, but they're not good enough if you have a serious question. If you've got a time frame where you need a question answered, and answered well. And so picture books are nice, but they're intermediate level. We don't want people to stop at intermediate level. The mind is what the mind is. It is a go-between. It's not a stopgap, but it has to allow the conversation. It has to allow the conversation to take place. That's step 1. Step 2 is translating the conversation. And then step 3 is presenting it to you. In meditation, that's where we teach you to receive the conversation, to translate the conversation, and to present the conversation. And you're not very good at it until you are. It's just like anything else. The mind will, every single time, 100% of the time, it will present conversation as a thought. It presents it in the mind's eye and no other place. And if the human being appreciates the conversation, and if they're not afraid of death and dying, and if they have no belief that the afterlife continues with a good place and a bad place. When the human being rids themselves of those kind of beliefs, and you're right, religion has all kinds of things in it that are not healthy for the mind. So when religion is overcome and you become a more peaceful human being, then you can be taught to have the words channeled. So substitute medium for being in conversation with those on the other side. When you are in conversation, two-way dialogue, two-way dialogue, two-way dialogue, because you can pray, and pray is one way, and we can send intuition to you. That's one way. One way up is praying. One way down is intuition. Two-way dialogue is a medium. You can be a clairvoyant medium and progress yourself to channeled medium. And that is what we want you to do. Because when we have a conversation out loud with people, then we can speak in a way that's more plain. We can describe things that are more thorough. And we don't have to wait for the human being to decide whether or not they want to repeat the words, because people have doubt. And so the mind that will channel is a mind that is free of doubt, that the information is healthy and peaceful. Anyone that channels non-peaceful information is causing their mind to speak in third person. So we don't say every channeled person is highly accurate. We say every channeled person still needs meditation as if they were a beginner. It's an ongoing life practice. And you can clog the proverbial pipes and reduce your accuracy, or you can keep them clean and continue your accuracy.
How do you know that an individual who's channeling is channeling in the third person versus a being of higher consciousness?
A human being doesn't. It doesn't feel any different. If a human being is speaking, then you know what your voice sounds like and you're speaking out loud. But you always have a thought that you want to say, and then you say it. You have a thought and then you say it. Now, when someone is a channeled person, that means that they have gone through all the mind processes to have us speak out loud. They aren't aware of what the conversation will be. They know that it's a thought that's being spoken, but they didn't have the thought first. A clairvoyant person hears the thought and then has to choose to say it. How do you know if someone is telling the truth? Well, you have to use a pendulum, but you have to be non-emotional with the use of it. So these are the questions that we want people to ask. Number one, is this conversation coming from the other side? That's number one. And then you weed out anybody that's fraudulent. And unfortunately, there are some. So the first question, is this conversation coming from the other side? Is this person highly accurate in the information that I'm looking for? So you can be channeled, but have a limitation on what information will come through. Most channelers have us teach law of attraction. What is law of attraction? It's just be happy and then, be gentle and then. Have a good disposition and then you have less stress, and then you have happy physical body. But you also have happier mindset and better outlook. If you are unhappy, the same follows suit. What is law of attraction? What you think about, you get more of. What you are thinking about, you will continue to think about until you distract yourself into a more positive thought. You get to choose what to think about, and what you think about will manifest. It will manifest for you and en masse. It will manifest. A thought is a thought, but thought is energy. How do you create things? You use energy. Use your words. Use your words. Use your words. And think about what words you are using. And when you do, and you use appropriate words for the situation and good words for what you're wanting, then you set yourself up for having a future day and a future moment that is what you are wanting, instead of you get what you get. So that's law of attraction. That's pillar 2. And we teach law of attraction through every channeled person. When we say teach, let us describe this. Mediums typically give readings. Mediums give readings. Mediums give readings. A person who is a clairvoyant medium or a novice channeled person, they typically give readings, maybe some workshops. but they give readings because they're communicating and helping soothe people who are upset about life, grieving because of the loss of life, etc., etc. A channeler is the advanced level of those that can channel. Those that can channel, meaning we ask the mind to say certain words out loud and not to add or subtract from the message. When a person reaches advanced level of channeled, we call them a channeler, if they will allow us to teach what we want to teach. Now, Carol teaches all 4 topics, meaning it's her body, it's her thought, it's her position, it's her choice. And then we identify which of the 4 pillars we're going to teach on any specific day. Most channelers teach 1, law of attraction. Some also teach a little bit about who we are, a little bit of pillar 1, a little bit of pillar 2. We like when people like the material because then the mind opens up to more. You draw from us based on your interest in the material. If you are not interested in who non-physical beings are, if that is not your interest, then you probably are not highly qualified, because you always uncover information in your own inner mind. In the psyche of the mind of a person, you have everything that you need. You have everything about this world that you live in, and about the non-physical place that you lived in first and that you will live in third. So you have it, but it has to be uncovered or revealed to you. We do that in meditation. And that's how we teach the mind to remember how to be a medium, and how to be a clairvoyant medium first, and then a channeled second, and then a channeler third. A channeler allows us to teach. And that's where the books come in, and the lecture series and things like that. We don't write books through clairvoyant people. We write books. We dictate or we recite. It is more like reciting a book. And we do that so that we can provide continuity of truth about how the inner mind works, why you're here in a physical body, and that there truly is life after this perceived physical life. We are 10 teachers at this moment. Carol feels as though there's 1. It does not feel like there's the presence of a crowd in her room. She feels a little bit of a chill on the left-hand side mostly, enough where she wants to rub the left arm and warm up a little bit. She has a little bit of a chill. That's because we're doing some throat chakra work as we do the channeled. It keeps the mind in a steady position. She often gets the chills. And so it's not that a spirit person just walked past or walked through you. It's that we're doing some chakra work to keep your mind steady and mind focused on what the task at hand is. The task at hand at this moment is to stay in position to receive continuous flow of conversation. And then it flows in and then flows out, nice and easy. And so there's about 10 of us right here. What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about astral projection.
Okay. You do it interesting.
I want to know how I can do it more consciously, right? Like, is it lucid dreaming? Is that astral projection? Is it leaving the body? Like, what is it?
All right. Astral projection and lucid dreaming, are they the same thing? Yes. You want to lucid dream in short increments, but not very often, because law of attraction will catch a hold of it and then cause you to do it more often. And then you'll lose track of time. And if you do that often enough, it can have physical consequences. So that's not something you want to do a lot.
Like what?
Like what?
Physical consequences. Like what are some?
Well, you could start forgetting things by habit. And when you start forgetting things by habit, then the mind starts losing memories. And then you start to have some decreased brainwave activity, and then body functions start to fail. So lucid dreaming is good psychic activity. It's good psychic activity. And you want to do that about once a day for about 30 seconds and no more. And that's if you're very good at it. So if you're very good at it, you will see a hazy image just enough that you can see it and identify it as something that you are wanting, and then pull back from it, and then nothing else for the rest of that day. If the image is something that you are not wanting, then you're not ready for lucid dreaming. You're ready for meditation, silent meditation for any length of time, but it's silent meditation. That means no thought, no mantra, no sound in the room, no singing bowls, no loud noises outside, no kids or animals moving about and causing disruption. Silence in the mind. It's never pure silence. You always have some mind activity. So there's different ways. We just say, shrug one shoulder. When a thought comes to mind, shrug one shoulder, and the thought will slide past. Now, a thought is a picture, a sensation, a memory, an idea, a to-do list item, a noise in the room, feeling silly, an emotion might crop up. All of those are considered thoughts. So when a thought arises, just lift one shoulder and gently put it back down. That thought, the occurrence of that thought will slide by. Now, we want people to do no thought meditation every single day for any amount of time. If you're wanting to be a medium, we want you to do it for 12 minutes or less, once a day. If you're wanting to lucid dream, then what you're really wanting to do is to speed up your ability to manifest something that you're wanting. And it's good to limit it to 2 things. And we want one of those things to be something that you're wanting, and the second to be a positive emotion. I want to feel friendly, and I want to have a large group of people to do weekend activities. I want to manifest a social group or a social network, and I want friendly to be dominant, going from me and coming to me. That means you feel like you're welcome and you like the experience. So one subject that you want to manifest and one dominant emotion to be dominant, going outwards and inwards, and then keep it at that. That's what the mind is ready for. Now, in your sleep, we call it jumping. So lucid dreaming is jumping to a point in time in the future, getting just enough of a potential snapshot, and it's a potential snapshot. And if it feels pleasing, pull back from it and then do it again the next day. If it is not pleasing, then you're not ready for daytime jumping. Go back to meditation. Do that for about a month and then try again. Now, this jumping activity, we like that word better because it's closer to what it really is. Do you leave your body? No. But there's an awareness function that does. So it's like this. It's like Stretch Armstrong. But Stretch Armstrong can go out as far as they can go geographically. But they can also go upwards in time and down in time. And so that arm goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, but it comes right back. And so you do leave your energy field. You leave through this 6-foot roundish, pointed at the top, pointed at the bottom, looks more like a Christmas ornament. And so your awareness function goes outside of your energy field, and it can go anywhere, geographically and time space. That's astral projection. It happens in your sleep. Now, it's also what we talk about with law of attraction. So if you fall asleep angry, you will jump to an angry situation, and you will acquire more memories in the grid of negative situation. Only you won't be aware of it. You won't be aware of it. It's unconscious memories accumulated on your behalf. We want you to go to sleep happy so that when you astral project, we call it jumping. So when you do that, and it happens automatically, the mind will go, number one, it'll go wherever your dominant emotions are. And then it will pick subjects that you are interested in. So where do you want your mind to go? It doesn't matter, because your conscious thought about where you want it to go will not influence it. It is the subconscious mind, and it goes out and it finds information that match what you have in your memory. Whatever you have the most of, it goes and gets more. But it goes and gets emotions first, subject second. But it does it at the same time. So let's say that you're really fond of history, and You're really proud that your grandfather was a Marine. And so you've got military things and history, but you also have pride. Well, you might go to different segments of time, past, present, and future. And you might go to military installations, and you might get a snapshot of someone receiving a promotion where pride is strongest. So if you have pride and military, but you like history, it's going to jump backwards, more than likely. Now, let's say that you are still that same person who has pride for the military and you have an affinity for history, but you're going through a divorce and you are angry. That's your emotion that you're carrying. Also confusion and upset and withdrawn. Now, when you astral project, you might still go to the past and you might still go to a military installation, but you might not go to a pinning ceremony. You might go to somebody having a really bad day, or you might go even further back and you might see a hanging. Now, it doesn't mean that you will ever remember it, because you don't. It's a fragment. It's a 1 to 2 second snapshot that gets entered into your mind. And so over time, let's say that divorce takes a year and a half, and your mind just decides to go do that once or twice a week. And it brings more fear because you went to an unhappy situation. And so a year into it, you just start being a little bit more afraid when you're driving, maybe looking over your shoulder, wondering if you're speeding and wondering if you're going to get pulled over. And you never used to do that. It's just a behavioral change, a thought process change. You've had bad jumping. What do you need? You need an attunement so we can adjust it. And you need meditation, the silent kind. You can fix a lot of things. We want you to use your psychic activity is jumping. That is astral projection. You don't want to do it too often during the day because it'll disrupt your life, and it could disrupt what your thought pattern is and your brainwave activity. It could also just be inconvenient, because if the mind figures out that you want astral projecting or lucid dreams, a habit is a habit. And what is a habit? A habit is what you feed the mind. And if you feed the mind that you want that, and you want that, and you want that, and you want that during the day, if you reach the tipping point on wanting it, then it can start creating it for you. And you don't want to have even a 2 second lucid dream while you're driving, because that could be a car accident. It could be rolling through a red light. So you don't want that. So we say once a day, and it's very short increments, but only if it's positive. So the best thing to do is do it on your day off, do it on the weekend, and leave it at that. And then you don't have any opportunity to accidentally create a bad habit and have the mind do it when you're not trying. Because law of attraction is simply this: what you are wanting, you will get eventually. And if you're here focused on it, then you'll get it faster. Once a habit is in place, you have taught the mind something. So if you have a habit of, let's say you've got a double bowl sink in your bathroom, and you have a habit of using the bowl on the left. When you do that every day, you will feel discomfort by using the bowl on the right. You'll feel like, I'm doing the wrong thing. That's a habit. Now, that kind of a habit can be changed easily, but the habit of jumping can't, because your conscious aware self can't control it. It goes on autopilot in sleep, and it identifies where it's going to go based on where your emotions have been first, and then your thought pattern second. So we want everybody to do silent meditation first for about a year. And then practice some lucid moments. So when people think of a lucid dream, they think about dreaming. And dreams can be very long and they can be complicated. And so we say it's more like a lucid moment, a lucid snapshot. What you are trying to do is trying to crystallize something that you're wanting to manifest. You want to meet a famous football player, and you want to meet them, and you want to shake hands with that person. So you want to picture you and that person, and you want to picture you as you are today. Otherwise, it could be too far in the future. So you want to picture you and that other person reaching for each other's hand. And if you can see that person and you can see you and you're reaching for each other's hand, pull back and let it go. Pull back and let it go. Try again the next day. But if you picture yourself being somewhere and then tumbling, then your emotional set point is not ready for that. Then you're pushing yourself too far too soon. So if it's a nice, easy, yeah, I can see it, pull back. But if you see yourself tripping, when energy is incomplete or when negative energy is involved, you will see yourself rotating, and rotating is usually, you see yourself dipping forward or tumbling. Not your physical body, but that's what you'll see in the image that you are creating. The lucid image will be movement. It's always movement. And that's why they call it dreaming, because there's movement in dreams. And so a lucid moment is trying to crystallize what you're wanting to manifest into an image and still having it positive. But if that image rotates and kind of falls apart like a house of cards falls down, or if it's you personally and you see yourself tumbling, pull yourself back, and then you need about 10 minutes of meditation to clean up that energy. It's a beautiful thing to do for yourself, because you can pull wanted things to you much faster. But if you don't know to look for positive signs and negative signs and what to do, then you could just create some disastrous moments in the future. So you got to be careful with it.
What crystallizes the image into reality? Is it the subconscious or the mind?
The mind is your subconscious. So the idea that your brain houses thought is fiction, because your brain stays here after you die. And so if your thought and if your memories were in the brain, then there would be no reason to communicate with anybody on the other side, because your brain is here. And those thoughts don't just dissipate into the air and then get transferred over and then collect back into you. That's kind of a silly way to think about the powerfulness of the creator who created this experience for all of us to use. Thought it through a little bit better than that. And so you have around every single human body a bubble. You call it an energy field. We just call it a bubble. Your human body is on the inside. This bubble is filled with your chakra system, and it's also filled with the grid. The grid is a structure. It's a structure, containers that houses all of your memories. And it looks like your body. It's shaped like your body, and it goes through your body, and it contains all memory. Now, that grid, your memory, interacts with the chakra system. Chakra system interacts with the brain, and then the brain tells your body what to do. So, but when we say the mind, we're talking about the grid. We're talking about the component in the non-physical energy field that has all accumulation of memory. Accumulation now is pattern building. When you have enough repetition, then a pattern starts. When the pattern is solid, you have a habit. When you have a strong habit, you have personality. And so, do you like your personality? If not, create a new habit. Many ways to do that. So the mind is the grid, and it's the non-physical contribution. It's a housing mechanism. And so the mind has to be ready for what you want to do. The non-physical mind is not your brain. You have a physical brain that tells your body what to do. You have a non-physical brain, which is the grid. So non-physical versus physical. We're talking about the non-physical mind. The non-physical mind causes you to be ready based on what you have fed it. So let's say you want to meet this NFL star, and you want to meet them, not just see them from a distance. You want to meet them, and you want them to know who you are, and you want them to tell other people that they met you. And then you become friends, and they're on your show, and they do all kinds of fun things, and they promote you, and you promote them, and maybe you build a charity together, and you've got some real grand things, but you want to have a strong, well-known personality that will connect with young men. All right, so we'll say NFL star. How do you get that person? Lucid dreaming can do it, but you have to have about a year's worth of really good sessions of meditation first. Now, what you do is you just picture yourself first. If you can picture yourself not stepping out of your body. We're not talking about attempts to have a personal conversation with your higher being. We're talking about using the power of the mind to create an image. And if you can have an image of yourself and you can see yourself, maybe standing in front of a backdrop, think of it like a VIP moment when you're shaking hands with someone. So maybe you see a curtain backdrop and you see yourself, you could see the curtain and you could see yourself kind of stepping up to the curtain, but then you lose sight of who you are. You don't lose sight of who you are, meaning you've stepped out of your body and now your consciousness is elsewhere. All of that is fiction. But the image, it looks like you for just a moment and then it fizzles. And now you just see the backdrop, or you just see some hazy figure. Well, that's just step one. Keep going until the curtain stays still and until you can see yourself. And when you can see the curtain in yourself, then start adding in this NFL star. And they'll be hazy, like a fuzzy, until it's less fuzzy, less fuzzy, less fuzzy. And now you've got the curtain, you've got you, and you've got this person. Now you want to inch your way together, inch your way together, inch your way together until you look like you're clasping hands, like shaking hands and meeting this person. Now that doesn't happen in one session, and that's where people go wrong. They sit there and they focus and they focus, and that's not a good lucid moment. So something where you're building the image, and you're building the screen, and you're building you and you're building this person and inching together, that could take 4 months of incremental progression to being able to sit for a moment and, yep, I can still see shaking his hand. Now, if you can do that and you can still see yourself shaking hands with that person, you are on your way to meeting that person, because your mind is creating it and bringing it to you. How do you get it? You have to be happy. If you're worried, if you feel inferior, it's going to be in your future, but you're going to move forward with your future and it's still going to be staying in your future. So when you say, yep, that's the one I want. Yep, that's the moment. I can't wait for that to happen. Yep, I like that. Yep. So you bring it closer to you. Now, how do you make that moment happen? Well, now you got to use words. So once you have the lucid moment, meaning the image is working for you, now you use words, or use words the whole time. So we'll just pretend that you're the NFL star and Carol's the one that's trying to meet you. No, she doesn't know you. She never met you. So when she's in her quiet moments, then she needs to have a conversation out loud, preferably one-sided. And it's got to sound like she's explaining to someone that she already met you. You got to put yourself in the future and talk about your future as though it's your past. And so it would go like this. Trey Downs? Oh yeah, I met him last week. He's a great guy. Yeah, I'm going to be on his show and then he's going to be on mine. Did I tell you about the charity we're starting? It's fabulous. It's going to be a winner. Trey Downs and I, yeah, we're hitting it off really well. It's good. It's good. Yeah, he's a great guy. So you see how you say it? Like you really are talking to someone. Now, if you said it more like this, I met Trey Downs and it was a good conversation. We're going to have a charity together and the fundraising is going well. I met Trey Downs and it's going well. Now that could be very flat. You'll still get there, but not easily. Not easily. You're going to add worry and doubt because you already have worry and you already have doubt, which is why you say it so stuttered or so bland, kind of second guessing yourself. But when you really, really get the hang of it and you just say, oh yeah, he called me yesterday and he said he's coming on the show tomorrow. Now that's good. But when you make it that specific, he's coming on the show tomorrow, you set yourself up for disappointment because he's not really going to be there. So you have to leave it general. And then you just play with it. You just play with it. So sometimes it's good to pretend that you're giving an interview as though you were asked a question, but don't paraphrase their half. Just do your half. So you got to pretend that you're being Trey Downs. Oh yeah. No, that's the one. Yeah, he and I are doing that charity. Yeah, it's great. It's phenomenal. It's all over the media. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, that's me and him actually. Yeah. So do you see how it's so convincing when you pretend that you were asked a question and you're just answering it from your side, and it's this friendly conversation and very convincing. Now, when you add those words and the good lucid moment day after day, that will happen. It has to. It has to. It has to. And the words matter. So if you really, really wanted to set up a charity like that, then you just start adding more to the verbal conversation. Oh yeah, you put in 10 million. We're on a roll now, because every NFL team is now doing a team match. Or you could say, you know, an NFL star from every team is now stepping in and they're all contributing. We're up to about 100 million. You know, so it's how much can you play act and still make it believable, and then keep the story going. Now, if you change the story left and right each time that you sit down to do it, well, you're not getting very far. So you got to start small and then add on, but just make sure that the whole story is what you're wanting. So if you don't want a charity and you don't want this big global frenzy, then that's obviously not what you want to include in your pretend moment. Lucid dreaming is good, but the words are more important. So lucid dreaming is also hard. So you can still just use the words just like that, and you'll still bring it to you. And then the vision won't mess you up, because the vision can create powerful doubt in the grid. And so we say, do away with lucid dreaming and just use powerful words. And then use those powerful words right before you go to sleep. Fall asleep with those words plus powerful happy. Go to sleep. Your jumping will include creating that in the future, creating it in the future, creating it in the future. So you bring it to you. It's much easier that way. Yeah.
I love that. Last question for you. I know you got to go. Are we the awareness? When you were talking about the awareness in the body and the mind, like, is our essence, our true nature, our higher self, that awareness?
Yes and no. You're the output. Think of it like a computer. The computer is on. That means you're alive. Computer's on. You have a keyboard, and there's a processor, and then there's a monitor. The keyboard and all the input, that's all your memories. All your memories and the things that you're thinking about. And as soon as you think about them, they're your newest memory. So the memory goes in. That's typed on the keyboard. Now, the process is, what do you have the most of? Subject matter and your emotions. That's the process. And the identifier is on the monitor. So who are you? It's whatever you input into the system. And the process is identifying what you have the most of by subject and by emotion. And then that becomes who you are. It becomes what you think about. It becomes your personality. It becomes your favorite pastime. It becomes your outlook. It becomes your physical body. It becomes you. So you are the essence of what you have taken in this lifetime. But the part of you that is doing the jumping, the part of you that is living life, is your soul essence. So the soul essence is what you are. The life that you are consciously aware of is the external output of what you have the most of, belief system wise, in your memory. And so you never are separate or different than the soul essence of you, because the soul essence is the one that decided to have an incarnation, and it is doing it. It is doing it. It is the function of jumping. It is the function of creating. It is the function of creating your life based on what you feed it. And so you never have a bad life, but you don't always get your intentions done. You are you. Capital U is the subconscious mind. You are the output or the physical manifestation and the mental, emotional, behavioral manifestation of what you have the most in, the memory. It's a great conversation. Thank you for it.
Thank you, Yeshua. This has been amazing.
They're here, I'm here. That was fun.
That's such a quick transition.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's like flicking a switch. Carol, you're up, or hello, we're here. I don't have to sit and close my eyes and breathe for a while and wait for the energies to align. I just is just a nice, easy flow of their conversation. It's nice.
Well, this seemed like a nice, easy flow of conversation and wisdom and knowledge and truth and all of the above. Carol, how can people connect with you?
Oh, that's easy. Americas-medium.com. So Americas with an S medium.com. And I'm the same on all the social medias. And, hit me up. I do readings, channeled. Everything is channeled, pure channeled. So I just say they do them and I'm the person. So readings and attunements. There's classes, unfoldment classes and self-healing classes, and monthly workshop where it's just an open Q&A session on any topic that's of interest to you. And there's a cruise coming up in April. It's going to be a self-healing cruise in no thought pollution, which is the ocean. And it looks like there might be a self-healing workshop in Paris in March. And
Wow.
gosh, just fun time. Yeah, it's fun.
Busy.
I hope so. Keeps the lights on.
Carol, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been fantastic. I love the conversation.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah. Appreciate it.